In this video, we will be focusing on vector graphics. Vector graphics are one of the three types of graphics you can use. The first type is raster graphics, which are basically photos, like this. With photos, if we cut out a part of the image, a hole appears there. We don't know what's underneath. Examples of these applications include well-known programs like Paint, Photoshop, or GIMP. These professional tools are specifically designed to manipulate and edit digital raster graphics. GIMP and Photoshop are programs that work with layers, so we can see something underneath. But the classic example is Microsoft Paint. That's one type of graphics. The second type of graphics is 3D graphics, and that's already a bit more difficult. These are programs like Blender, for example. Graphics can generally also be studied even at the engineering or master's level, so I recommend it if someone would like to study it. It's also an IT field, so it doesn't necessarily have to be at an art academy of fine arts. The third type of graphics is vector graphics. We mainly use vector graphics for drawings, for example, for leaflets or for various diagrams. There are programs like CAD, for example, which are used for designing in buildings and similar things where you can also add dimensions. However, simple vector graphics are usually things like leaflets, advertisements, and similar materials. There are also several programs for this. The most straightforward and simplest option available is Inkscape. We will be using it for our project today because it is completely free and open source software. You can download it from the website called inkscape.org. There is a download section here. It's best to download the latest version as it usually works the most stably. And you can easily create stunning professional drawings, just like the ones you see right here, simply by using this versatile software program. So once you've installed Inkscape, let's launch it. Let's create a new document. We'll switch to full screen here. If your image is zoomed out, you can enlarge it here. And whatever is on this white sheet is what will generally be printed. The basic tools are on the left side. The most important tool is this arrow. If you select another tool, you can press the space bar, and it's usually like this in graphic programs, that the space bar always lets you return to the arrow tool. So to avoid having to move the mouse around unnecessarily and waste time, it's best to learn that after selecting and using any tool, you just press the space bar and you have the arrow tool selected again. The basic elements in vector graphics are shapes. There are usually two basic ones, the rectangle and the ellipse. And when we select the rectangle, we can draw it here. It's always drawn in the color we have selected. Then we press the spacebar, which means we have the arrow tool again. We can select another object, change its color, then press the spacebar again, and we have the arrow tool selected. If the objects are already drawn and we have the arrow tool selected, we can switch between these objects and we can also move them. Notice that around the object, little arrows appear around it, and if we click on them, we can use these arrows to make the object bigger or smaller. We can also change its proportions. For example, with a circle, it can become an ellipse. If we click the object a second time, that is, I click it once and then click it again, then around it, notice how the arrows change their appearance, and now we can freely tilt or even rotate the object if we grab it specifically by one of the corners. The object always rotates around this point here in the center, but we can easily move the center point to a new location. So if we move it, let's say, over here, now the object will rotate around this point. If we click the object again, we get the arrows for resizing back. Another important thing to note here is that a vector graphics program works with layers, meaning the object drawn most recently is on top, and the one drawn earlier is underneath it. However, here we can change this order, meaning if we have an object selected, we can move it up a layer, down a layer, or move it all the way to the bottom or to the very top. So if I have an object selected that was at the bottom, I click here, and it moves it to the very top, and then the other one is underneath. Another thing you can do is combine objects, that is, group them together. So I select two objects, or I do it this way and have both selected. Now, when I use the arrow keys, all my commands apply to both objects. If I click somewhere on the white area, I have them separated again. But I can also make them permanently grouped, so I either select them like this, or there's another way if they were scattered around. For small objects that we don't want to select We can hold down the Shift key and then click one by one on the objects we want. If we have them selected, we can use the right mouse button, group, and now the program will permanently remember that this is a single object for it until we choose ungroup or separate group. And now if we move it or change its size or shape, it will always be treated as a single object. One thing to remember is that if we color it and the objects are grouped, both will automatically be colored. We can always use Ctrl-Z, or depending on your computer, use undo. And that's how it works too. The next object is text. That is the letter A. If we click it, select it, and then click on our page, we can write something here. For example, the word cheap. And this also behaves like an object, meaning we can rotate it and change its size. So let's do a simple exercise right away. Let's ungroup this group here. To give you a rough idea of what you can use Inkscape for, I'll just insert something here. Code at the bottom. Let's make this a different color. We'll group this object together. Group. I can also copy this object, so Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, and I have a second one just like it, which is now independent from the first one. Let's make this one smaller. We'll add it to this one, object. There are also ready-made polygons here that we can use, so we can have an object like this. So we'll put it underneath. Let's make it maybe green. Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V. And here we'll make a phone. We'll move this over here. And it's done. The simplest ad for selling mushrooms. And now what can you use this program for? Of course, we can print it, we can export it in some format like JPG or another. So we can convert it to a raster graphic from this. But we can also do something like this. Let's select everything. We press Ctrl-C. You take any text editor you use to write your work. Here I have Pages because I use a Mac. Let's say I have my work there. And I can just do Ctrl-V here, and the drawing is immediately in my work. So if you want to quickly add something to your document, a vector graphics program like this is very convenient. Another thing we can do in such a vector graphics program, which might be useful, is for vector graphics. We can also insert photos, that is, use raster graphics as an object within vector graphics. And that's a simple example. Let's leave this object as it is. We take a photo from our desktop. We simply drag and drop the file into our specialized editing software, and the photo will be automatically imported. It behaves like a regular object. Of course, vector graphics are generally used because they are stored in a sort of coordinate system, and in reality the computer remembers the points and draws these objects for us. So, if we want to have an image twice as large, we can simply multiply those points by 2. This happens automatically when we enlarge it, and we don't lose any quality. With photos, with raster graphics, unfortunately, when you enlarge a photo, the photo loses quality. You've probably seen photos like that where there are huge pixels on them. It's simply because the photo was enlarged too much. With vector graphics, this problem doesn't exist. We can enlarge it as much as we want, and the quality will always stay the same. But generally, in our vector graphics program, we can actually import photos. And here, let's use a tool called calligraphy. It's like a pen. Let's make, with some color, an arrow. Let's fill it in a bit here. On top of that, we'll add some text. And once again, we can go ahead and copy the entire graphic, select the specific program where we are currently writing our document, and simply paste it right here. And that's much faster. If you actually had to manually draw this entire diagram in Microsoft Word and play around with all of those individual arrows using only Word's basic built-in tools, it would definitely take you a much longer amount of time than simply using a professional vector graphics program like this one. Okay, now let's do a simple exercise. We're going to draw a herd of llamas. So let's take an ellipse. We'll copy it. And rotate it. This exercise is meant to show you how easy it is to use this kind of graphic to create some fun or silly things. Let's take another little circle here. Let's make it white. And this particular one is going to be completely black. Let's group these together. Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V. We'll rotate this one. We'll also need an object like this. And about 3 of those. Okay, now we'll use all of these pieces to build our very own llama, or maybe even a fluffy alpaca. Okay, it's ready, the little animal. Now I select everything and group it. If I have such an object grouped, I can of course make a glue copy. One llama will have a different opinion. She will look the other way. Okay, I can select the whole thing and make it smaller. Now we'll do something else. Some background on this. Copy, paste. Copy, paste. Let's change the colors a bit here. Now I select this object with Shift, all 3 of them. I group them. I move it to the bottom, so I click it and send the layer all the way down. Okay. And we'll add something else to this, a caption. That this is the logo of some company, which our potential client just founded. And they were missing a cool logo. And this is also a way to quickly draw something cool with such a little program. And now the next exercise, we'll leave one llama. We'll delete this one. And now we'll take a look at traditional calligraphy. And we'll put it underneath. And we'll group our llama together with his red stripe. Group, okay. And for now, let's just let it wait here. The next tool. This is the pen. The pen tool functions in a very specific way. First, once you have selected the pen from your toolbar, you can begin to click around the canvas to create several distinct anchor points. And then as soon as you finally connect those points back to the start, the entire enclosed object will be automatically filled in with your chosen color. And now we have some kind of polygon which might not be available among the basic shapes here. If we have such a polygon, then of course we can copy it. Let's make this one a bit bigger. Let's make it even bigger. I'm clicking all three while holding Shift. I'm setting them to be green. Let's make another one of these. A little rectangle. Okay. Now let's combine them. I can group them together. Now from the ready-made elements, let's take a star. Let it be red. Let's put it underneath. Okay, we have a Christmas tree. I'm selecting everything. Group. This will be my Christmas tree. Now that we have everything ready and in place, let's take some time to carefully craft and build something truly unique and special for this specific project, ensuring that every single detail is absolutely perfect and exactly how we envisioned it from the very beginning of our creative journey today. Another background. Let this one be blue. Okay, that sounds good. Let's also take some of this beautiful calligraphy. Yellow. Some kind of garland on this Christmas tree. Now let's take our llamas. Let's make it a bit smaller. Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V. And these will be our bubbles. This particular one as well, surprisingly even. Alright then, and now the very next important thing that is definitely worth knowing about if we were to paint some object. Or maybe let's do it differently. Let's do it like this. We'll paint a rectangle. And on it we'll paint a little circle. Or, well, an ellipse like this. We can do something like this. We click on this object, meaning our little circle. We click on our rectangle. Now we have both the circle and the rectangle selected. We can choose in the path menu something called difference. Difference means that in the object underneath, a hole will be cut out in the shape of the object that's on top. If I click this, it cuts a hole in the yellow shape in the form of our ellipse. By following this specific method, we end up creating what we might call a perfect egg-like shape. Essentially, we have successfully merged the two forms together. It is almost as if we are blending the festive spirit of Christmas with the traditional themes of Easter in one single design. And we have the perfect greeting card. We can just write something here. Let's pick a different color. For Mom. And surely if you give something like this to your mom for the holidays, she will definitely be happy. Alright, let's do one more example here to show another way you can use this. So for this example, let's say we'll have, let's go ahead and make it a solid blue background once again. We'll make this time yellow underneath. And now we'll use our pen tool. We are going to take a moment to carefully draw some kind of interesting geometric shape or perhaps a unique figure right here on the canvas for everyone to see clearly. Completely random. We'll move the second one a bit. We'll group these two shapes together. Let's make one more. A brown circle. And since it's black, we'll also draw with the pen tool. This one on top. Let's make one more here. A little sun. And now for a fluffy cloud, so I'll draw a bright white object here. Then I'll just copy and paste it, copy and paste it again, and copy and paste it once more. We'll group all three together. Okay, let's say this is a cloud. And this is our little sun. And let's put a good slogan here. You can also move objects with the arrow keys on your keyboard when they're selected. This way, you can also use this program to create posters or invitations for something. It's very easy to draw in this, and you can use it very quickly. Here, it's all up to your imagination. It's your imagination that decides how your work will look. I think I've shown you the basics of Inkscape. Use this program as much as possible for your projects or documents. Or, as I mentioned, if you want to make a quick flyer or a quick poster. Programs like this for vector graphics are perfect for that. So, thank you, and I invite you to watch my next videos.